America thrives at imposing its will on others now, but America used to also thrive at manufacturing and production. American made used to come with a certainty of excellence. The reason that quality is tanked has nothing to do with our regression of capability, but everything to do with profit maximizing and resource privatization as mentioned. Progress gets stalled and stretched, innovation gets silenced and patented, and costs get minimized for profits to soar. This all culminates in corporations protecting profits and sacrificing quality at the cost of societal progression and biological safety. The results are products that you are told are the same, may even look the same, but are in reality the delusions of sincerity and suppressions of capability. There is a dichotomy of priorities between the interests of the corporations and the interests of the whole that must be remedied. Conflicting interests create opposing forces, and naturally, producers don't want consumers producing their own means. As written, compromise or oppression is then required to maintain the system or relationship. So, in the relationship of consumer and producer, who has the true power? If the producer is reliant on the consumer, it would be in their own best interest to compromise either way for a mutual agreement that benefits both based on natural ability for the consumer to oppress the producer. Producers, specifically corporations, are unwilling to compromise in this sense of fairness, not unable to, because the profits they generate don't just go to justifying minimal wages in exchange for maximum employment, as if it's admirable you need 10 fools for a day's work, but also paying their executives millions of dollars while giving political handouts to influence the way that laws are written and enforced. The real reason for the inequality of wealth distributed by them is because corporations designate a portion of their profits to political lobbying and lawsuit coverage to circumvent the laws and cover their risks. This creates oppression of the consumer and citizen by default because it allows them to cut corners and poison quality, while marketing perception and not reality. They do this because their goal is not innovation, rather innovation for profit. What this means is that if they develop a groundbreaking advancement that jumps them 10 years ahead of schedule, they will create 10 years worth of products to build up to it and save it, while keeping it hidden for themselves the entire time. The goal is longevity and profitability, not progress and advancement. When profits are the goal, it means to cut costs as much as possible. However, what happens when cutting those costs results in the poisoning of your consumer or the destruction of one's environment? You are forced with a question. Is the punishment worth the profits, or is the self-restriction worth the financial hit? It's clearly a question of finance or morals. The reality of the question is, does ignorance and arrogance justify selfishness and vanity? Their answer has been obvious. While the consumers and workers bear the burden. If they can't change how the laws are written, they simply offer bribes to determine when they're enforced. Our Supreme Court just overturned Chevron, which essentially allows those same corporations to interpret the laws themselves based upon how it's written, with no regulation by federal agencies. If they violate that law based on personal interpretation, it needs to be brought to court and decided by a single judge that may have no knowledge or understanding of that specific violation in question, unlike the federal regulatory agencies that would. The long-term issue with that is, as we see in the pharmaceutical and energy industries, is that these corporations are able to generate billions of dollars in revenue before they are ever required to take accountability. At that point, to them, it's the equivalent of paying a parking ticket and getting a slap on the wrist for a decision of convenience and profit, when the reality is an environmental or human rights disaster. Government then must regulate corporations and the economy to ensure that it is American-driven, for American benefit, and without risk to the American way of life agreed upon by its members.